Next up on the podcast, Nick Tamburo from Smithereens Restaurant in New York City. Nick, what's up, brother? Good to have you on the podcast. You're in Nashville because we just crushed a dinner last night, which was so much fun at Iggy's. Thanks for we cooked. Let them cook. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. So, typical format for the How Did I Get Here podcast. We first met when you were working at Momofuku Ko, and that had to be 2015. Where were you before that? How did you get started cooking?
So let's see. I mean, I grew up in Massachusetts, and I went to college in Boston and studied like visual arts, filmmaking, and stuff like that, and started cooking sort of the end of my time in college. I was like working part-time, and I got really interested in food around that time. I feel like it was like the beginning of the food blog era.
Yeah.
So just kind of like seeing what people were doing, being like really fascinated by like the artistry of it. Yeah, I mean, I had worked in like restaurants and cafes and stuff like during college a little bit. But yeah, I got my first cooking job at this restaurant called Evu. I think they just closed recently in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And yeah, I mean, the chef just like took a chance on me. I had no experience, but he gave me a job. So crazy to think
you
about.
Just walked into the restaurant. Like, so what happened with filmmaking then?
I never gave it a shot.
No?
Yeah. I don't know. Just kind of abandoned it. But yeah, kind of weird.
A little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, so eventually like found my way to New York after working in some restaurants in Boston.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as I moved to New York, I started working with Momofuku at Noodle Bar. I got to know the guys from Ko like through that. Because at the time they were right next door to us in the East Village. And went to Europe to stage for a bit and came back and joined up a team at Ko.
Where were you in Europe?
At Indewolf.
Oh, Indewolf.
Kobe Restaurants.
Yeah, how was that, man?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. Hardest, I don't know, maybe not hardest job I've ever had, but definitely the most exhausting job I've ever had in my life. Yeah.
Right, because it was like
it's insane
Europe, lunch and dinner,
man.
insane hours, barely sleeping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'd work like 8 a.m. to midnight. Like, yeah.
Where is he now, man? He closed. When did it close? It closed in 2016, 2015?
Man, was it that long ago?
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah, and he's done a couple other projects. He has a new restaurant now in Brussels.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, they opened like a year ago. So
what are some of the things that you took from there? Because that restaurant's insane.
Yeah. So it's like we were, in the Belgian countryside, like honestly just across the border from France, like stone's throw from France. But yeah, definitely like destination restaurant. Just farmland around, and they had a lot of stagiaires there, and we all lived in like a big house like down the road. And but yeah, I mean, I think like at that restaurant, like they were super specific about their sourcing. They didn't get anything that was not from within like a couple miles of the restaurant. And I think just the way that Kobe led the team and sort of like creativity was super inspiring. It was very collaborative environment, which was like cool to see like at that level. I feel like all the cooks and the sous chefs had like a lot of autonomy, and even the stages, like he'd put a dish together and be like, oh, what do you think about this, know, and you're just like,
but that's
crazy.
The way to do it though, man. Especially if that many people, you got to get crowdsourcing the ideas.
Yeah. But yeah, we would we change the menu all the time. We've changed the menu mid-service, like stuff like that.
No way.
So yeah.
You did lunch and dinner?
Yeah, we didn't do lunch every day. But we would do lunch like 2 days a week when I was there, yeah.
So destination, like where were the people coming from? From all over?
A lot of people from France.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people from France. Some Belgians, and other than that, like I guess international, like foodie.
Was there like an inn or
types.
something they'd stay at? Or
Yeah,
just drive in
they
and
had a
drive
couple
back?
rooms there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure how many, just a handful of rooms.
Yeah.
And it was like a 40-seat restaurant. Yeah.
What'd you do on your days off?
Sleep. And I mean, it was cool because there was, people, cooks from like all over the world there. And but yeah, we would go and eat. We went to Paris a couple times. We'd drive to Lille in France and then take the train from there to Paris.
Man.
So yeah, we got to
Sounds like a dream,
got to see
dude.
some cool stuff.
I'm on my day off. I'm just gonna take the train into Paris,
Yeah,
hang out
yeah.
for the day, then go back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For me, that's like the equivalent of like going to Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah. Well, we got today off. Let's just go to Alabama.
Right. Yeah.
For
super
a minute.
exciting.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be. I guess I don't know. I haven't tried it yet.
Never been to Birmingham?
No, I'll follow back with you. I'll do it next weekend. I'll
Yeah,
follow up
yeah,
with you.
yeah. Let
It's
me know how it
A
is.
little different than Paris, I'm guessing. But
Yeah.
Same vibe.
Yeah.
What are the things that you think that you learned there that you still do today? Was it like super technique driven, or was it more about product and the care for it, or?
I mean, I feel like the food was pretty like naturalistic. So more, about product, and then just about creativity, minimalism, good execution.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the way that he led the team was in a very like casual way, like lead by example way.
Right.
Like he'd scrub down the kitchen with us some nights, help make family meal, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Go foraging with us, just sort of just like be like one of the
Man, I
part
think
of the crew.
I think that's so important. You own a business now too. Like,
yeah,
how important is it to lead by example? Because I think it's something that me and Matthew do, especially in the beginning when we first opened. And it was kind of out of necessities. We didn't have enough people. So I would like organize the walk-in or scrub it down. And now that it's a little bit more established, and I'm there during prep time with the guys in the morning, so setting up a lot of those things. But at night, the last couple dishes go out, and then I bounce. But I feel like that structure was in place. Do you feel like with your team, the better it is to lead by example?
Yeah, I mean,
not to cut you off, but we all worked for those guys that are like, you holier than thou, and they walk in the kitchen and everybody has to stop, everybody's butt puckers up, and I just don't get that vibe from you. That's the way it is.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, I struggle with like what the best use of my time is, and that's something that I'm figuring out as like a business owner is like so much different than just being a chef. There's just like so many other little problems that you need to deal with, and
it's like the time I get to cook is like, oh, finally, I have an hour to do something. I have an hour to cook,
but like, so often I want to like, get the team in a good place for the day. So like come in, like start with the butchery, getting things done, things started, but then it's like, well, like, I'm putting off like all these other things that I should probably be focusing on. So it's a tough balancing act.
Yeah. Are you there? Are you alone in the morning sometimes, or?
Not really. We have our prep guys are always there. Yeah. They get there at 8.
Jesus.
And I usually get there around 10. But yeah, but it's they're a good crew.
Yeah. Every once in a while now, when you have a real busy week, sometimes I have to go in on a Sunday and just do a little bit of prep.
Really?
And as much as I hate it, because I hate working Sundays, and it's normally the day I take off. Like those 3-4 hours that I'm there alone, prepping, just like putting some tunes on, having a coffee, just by myself, just like listening to the restaurant like settle, where it's still kind of like a little bit warm from the war before, the war of last night. I find a lot of like tranquility in being in the restaurant alone. Just to like be able to look around, think, and maybe I should put a shelf there. Maybe I need to reorganize this.
No, that's super super important. I should set aside more time for that. I mean,
shelves.
Yeah. I mean, the restaurants, no one's there Sunday, and then Monday our AM Sue works and gets stuff like started for the week. So
you left In the Wolf back to Momofuku?
Yeah. I came back to Ko when I was still in Belgium. One of the sous chefs there was like, hey, we're we have a spot opening up, like when you come back, do you want to come work? And I was like, yeah, definitely. So
what was that transition like, going from one restaurant to the next of like where you walk outside and all the products you use are like within 5 feet,
right? Yeah,
coming into the concrete jungle of New York again.
Yeah, I was itching to get back. It was not like a natural environment for me. It was really hard.
Yeah,
super isolating. Yeah, but so yeah, I was excited to be back. And yeah, I mean, at that time, Ko was the tiny 12-seat restaurant. And so that was also like, as a cook, we were given a ton of responsibility and able to sort of like contribute in small ways. And I think one of the hardest things, but also probably one of the best learning experiences as a young cook there was it was only 3 people on the line. It would be either like Sean or Josh or Carrie, who's the other sous chef, and then 2 cooks. And part of your like meals, like in addition to the dishes you had to prep out, is each cook had to come up with 2 canapes every day.
Oh wow!
So like,
dude,
it was like,
fuck.
It was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we would do like 5 canapes. One was always like sort of something we didn't change, and then each cook would do 2.
Yeah.
And so it was like, what are you going to do this week? Try to like utilize what you have. And I feel like we all kind of had our like go-to things that we would sort of like repeat here and there. But it was tough.
You ever find
really
out sometimes
hard.
the chef's like, sometimes I don't have any ideas. Sometimes it's like where things are going on in my personal life, or I'm in a little bit of a slump, but sometimes I'm like, I just don't have any fucking ideas right now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we're still in the beginning stages at Smithereens, but I mean, other restaurants that I've worked at or that I've run, it's been a little bit more of like a formula for the menu where you're like, okay, so like, what's the salad going to be? What's like, we have 4 entrees, 2 meat, 2 fish. Like, what are we going to do? Or, you have these certain like roles that you're trying to fill on the menu. But I mean, I guess the freeing thing is that we can do whatever we want because I own the restaurant.
Yeah, that's the next topic I want to talk to you about. So you were at
yeah.
North Block in Napa Valley or Yountville.
Yeah.
That's where we kind of like reconnected after Ko. And I mean, I ate there like 3-4 times. It was fucking unbelievable. Corporate world, corporate environment.
Yeah.
And now, and then you're at Claud helping the guys out at Claud. Probably a little bit more freedom and autonomy with the menu, but still run by someone else, all those places.
Right.
Have you figured out or adjusted to the transition of now that you have your own place that you don't have to ask anybody, or there is no formula, or whatever the formula is what you decide for that day?
Right.
For me, and Matthew also, it took us a minute to realize like, oh, we could do anything we want. There's no emails that need to be sent. There's no meetings. There's nobody we have to call to ask permission. If we want to do it, we just fucking do it.
Yeah.
So
it's a crazy thing when you really think about it. Yeah, I think it's still something we're coming to terms with. They're like starting to realize, and yeah, I mean, so like with the menu there, I feel like for the longest time we were still sort of like operating, in this way where we should have this, or
we have to have a salad. We have to have some sort of chicken dish.
Right.
Gotta have a pasta or whatever. There's certain things on corporate menus that are just expected.
Right. And now we're sort of like, well, if we don't feel excited about it, then we're just not going to do it.
I love it.
And so that's been, I mean, even just a couple months ago, like we had this vegetable dish on, we took it off. So we're like, oh, I guess we'll like put on another vegetable dish because it's something that we should have. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I don't really care about this. Like, it's not like, there's so many other things that I want to do.
Yeah.
So rather than like wait for that like spot on the menu to like put those things, just like get rid of the stuff that we don't want and just put in more of what we do want. So that's like been something that we're sort of realizing. But and it's something that like Nikita, my business partner who runs the wine program, that we talk about a lot. And she's super, her beverage program has a lot, really strong point of view. When we opened, it was only white wine, mostly Riesling. Then we changed the menu to only Grenache and sandy soil Pinot Noir, and now we only serve sparkling wine.
Jesus.
And
But how cool is that?
Yeah,
though?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't need to have these things to appease everyone. It's more about like what makes us excited, what gets us up in the morning. And I think like if the team is excited about what we do, then that'll come across to the guests and we can get them excited about it. Because like at the end of the day, we like stand behind what we put out, and we're not going to serve anyone something gross or something that we don't believe in. And so,
or just have some sort of filler on the menu.
Yeah. So it's more that we're just like asking the guests to like have faith in us and like just like get on our side and like try out what we're trying to do.
Yeah, so dope. Where'd the name come from? Smithereens.
It's from a movie. Takes place in the 80s in New York in the East Village. It's directed by Susan Seidelman.
See, you are putting your
there you go.
Degree to work.
Yeah, exactly. So it sort of like chronicles like the punk scene in the East Village, like at that time, sort of like a coming of age story. But yeah, that's like where it comes from.
How do you think working at Claud set you up for owning your own business?
I mean, that experience was super invaluable.
That was
honestly.
it, right?
Yeah. Because that was, I think my first time working for like a truly like independent restaurant and seeing it like from, day one.
Seeing the owners in there every day, working, grinding. Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing them like solve problems, making the connections too of like meeting the people that would help me solve problems, plumbers, electricians,
right.
All those people that you need to like,
yeah.
Sort of the team you have to put together to open a place. So, just figuring all that out and how to set up your garbage company and just like the boring,
all of it, man.
Working with an architect and the city permitting, like to see those guys go through that process and be able to like take a little bit from it. It's huge. Yeah.
It's overwhelming when you get the plans back from a designer and you're looking at it and you're just like, fuck. And then the restaurant's built and you're like, there's no hand sinks anywhere. Like, how did you guys forget this? You know? I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned of like, not so much having faith in the designers, but like you really have to double check everybody's work, man. And even if you guys have to, it's your place, you have to double check everything, man. So what were some of the obstacles or lessons that you learned from the opening? From like it being your own place now, being like, if I do another one, I'm definitely going to know not to do that.
I mean, you definitely have to do your due diligence with the space, which I think we knew, but I think there's some things that we missed. I will never do any gas plumbing work again.
Jesus, man.
That was a nightmare.
Yeah. Did you have to pull it in from the outside? Is that
we had gas in the building. They had a gas kitchen in there.
But it was a restaurant before? Or no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was a sushi omakase place called Kagen. But yes, they had a gas kitchen in there. Like when we took the space, like gas was on, you could walk in, turn the stove on, fire came out. Everything seemed to be working.
Yeah, let's go.
Like,
Open tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. We knew we were going to change all the equipment out and everything. But, once we kind of started to get into it, our plumber comes in to like look at stuff and he's like, oh, this gas, like this plumbing's super shoddy. Like it's illegal. Like this is like not done legally. Like they must have just come in and whatever. And so he's like, we got to redo this whole thing. Man. This is never going to pass inspection, blah, blah, blah. So it's like something like that where it's like, okay, next time I would make sure everything was how it needed to be. That opened a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. But I feel like that's like a typical New York, like all those are third, fourth, fifth gens.
Right.
Like New York or Nashville is like, it's sort of everything's being torn down and rebuilt. So everything's like brand new. Like Iggy's was like a white box, brand new. Yeah. Everything was done. It was a new car smell.
Yeah.
So we didn't really run into too many problems like that as you would in like a city like Chicago or New York. So
yeah, with the old buildings and stuff. Yeah.
What's the philosophy of food that you're trying to do?
So yeah, we cook seafood, and it's sort of inspired by where I grew up in Massachusetts. With the opening menu, we took a lot of inspiration from like a lot of classic New England cooking with like the bread that we do, and some of the other dishes, some of the ingredients that we use. We use a lot of maple syrup. We use a lot of molasses. But yeah, so that's one part of it, and then the other part of it is, I guess, from my experience cooking in, like more like contemporary restaurants and sourcing. We use like a good amount of Japanese fish and stuff like that, and I think mostly our flavors are pretty like bright and delicate. That's usually kind of like what we go for. And yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, just kind of trying to cook what we're excited about and, get in a product, fish or, maybe a pantry item that we want to utilize and figuring out how to incorporate into the menu. And once we get bored with it, then not do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I am too. I was like, I think this is the fan favorite and it's been on the menu for a while, but I think we're going to change it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then those people can be like, oh, it's not here. And then hopefully the dish that you replace with is even better so that they forget about.
Right.
Or the other way around, then you got to like bring it back. So.
Yeah. I think we have like a nothing is sacred mentality for sure.
I think that's the best philosophy, because then otherwise you pigeonhole yourself, or the guests pigeonhole you as like always having to have this. And I think for us, it's like we have one or two items that are just always going to be on the menu.
Yeah,
the bolognese is just like, I like it, so it's and the guests like
it.
It's one of our number one. So
it's
just there. It's like, fuck, people come for it.
Yeah.
But to have like a majority of the menu like that, we're like, well, we can't change it, or the people are going to riot. I think that's a bad spot to be in.
Yeah. I do think, like, although I am trying to now like slow down a little bit, and I feel like we are changed the menu like super aggressively, and now I'm like, cool, but like maybe we can spend more time like refining our like execution and like making sure the cooks like have it super dialed and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's like a double-edged sword, or it's a balance.
It's a balance.
Yeah. Trying to do a little bit of both.
We worked with David Chang at Momofuku, or David Chang's company. Like, that's a huge conglomerate company.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you saw there, and some of the good things from working for like a big restaurant group that you can incorporate into your small little privately owned spot?
Man, I don't know. I guess like, some of the systems,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. That sort of like communication, that kind of thing. Man, what else? I don't know. I think, I worked for Momofuku for like more than 7 years at a bunch of different restaurants. I mean, I think a lot of those things are ingrained in me, like just the way that you approach the work that you're doing and the restaurant and all that. And sometimes I forget that not everyone has that same background, and especially working for a company like that where you have all these people that have been a part of it and share like the same values and stuff. So I guess trying to figure out like what of those things are important and that you want to instill in like your own team. And I mean, I think like simple stuff that I take for granted that like I would assume everyone finds important is like just trying to get better every day or whatever. Something simple like that. Just like, let's be a better restaurant today than we were yesterday.
Right.
Seems obvious. Like, why wouldn't you want that? But
it seems almost cliche.
Yeah. But I don't think a lot of people think about that. Like, what can we change to be better?
Yeah.
That is just like a simple thing like that is like super important.
Or like, or finding the energy to come in every day and keep the staff motivated.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the hardest things for me, is like, it's not so much I can't have a bad day, but it's kind of like I don't want them to see me having a bad day, or to see me going through some sort of struggle that I'm having like in the restaurant, that has nothing to do with our day to day,
Right.
but is like really stressing me out. It's like I don't want that to kind of like pour over.
Yeah.
That's like a big one.
Yeah.
That I would deal with.
That's
a lot
hard.
Too.
Yeah.
How did you meet Nikita? How did that come about?
Well, she works for Momofuku in a sort of different era than like when I was there, but we knew a lot of the same people, and I first met her when she was helping to open Momofuku Wayo, and she was part of the opening team there, and then she later went on to work at Ko, and I guess I wasn't with. Yeah, I guess I was long gone from Momofuku at that point, but yeah, there's so many of like the Momofuku alumni now in New York that you kind of like know a lot of the same people, and so I was at Claud and sort of working on the idea for this restaurant, and she came in to eat one night and was like, hey, you should come visit Ko soon because I'm leaving in a couple months, so just come by while I'm there to say what's up. And so then I was like, maybe she'd be interested in like partnering up on this. So
That's dope.
Yeah.
At what point did you say to yourself, I think I could do this on my own? Did you have a moment like that? Open your own place, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess when I first started like working on this or thinking about it in like a more serious way, I was talking to the Claude guys about maybe partnering up on something, and we've known each other for so long. It seemed like a natural progression. And it didn't end up like materializing, but I think that's probably for the best, even if at the time I was like bummed that we like didn't work anything out. But I think, it like pushed me to be able to do this on my own. And I mean, those guys helped so much as just like, a sounding board and, helping like guide me through like the process. But I think now I have, even though we love a lot of the same things and see things in a similar way, we have our differences, and now I can sort of like, can explore that on my own, which is cool.
Yeah, have your own way of doing it.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, especially when you're doing like a new business, especially for something like we do, like to have as many people that you can call and like your little freak out moment, or like, hey, what do you do about this, or what do you do? Who do you use for accounting, or like the garbage? Like,
it's so
the things that you just don't think of as like a line cook or even like a chef.
Yeah,
that behind the scenes just like keep everything moving along.
Yeah,
I think like accounting is like the biggest one. Like, accountants and lawyers.
Yeah,
I'm like,
for
holy
sure.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
I talk to my accountant and lawyer every fucking day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, again, those are the people that are like part of that team that you're like assembling when you have to like start the restaurant. And I think one of the most useful tools like in this business is like, just like the connections that you make, the people that you meet along the way that, maybe when you meet them, when you first cross paths, like they're not helpful to you then, but they will be later.
Totally. Yeah,
and it's someone that you can reach out to. And it's all.
Did you have to find investors, or how did that work?
Yeah.
How hard was that?
It was hard.
It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
Especially for the first one. I had such a hard time for like the first 6 months of just like selling the project.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, here's the financials, and here's the pretty deck, and I'm gonna give it my best, and I'm gonna try to open a restaurant, and maybe I'll pay it back. And people were like slamming doors in my face, and I became a salesman like so quick from people like saying no right to my face.
Right.
I'd be like, okay, I have to change the way that I'm approaching this.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a process that was like so daunting to me.
we have no practice. We spent my whole life just trying to be a good cook. And now all of a sudden, I'm like some sort of like Wall Street, tycoon talking about numbers on page 37 of a pro forma that makes no sense to me.
It's ridiculous. It does not feel natural at all. It's a strange thing, man. And, we went out and did the thing and assembled a group of investors that I'm like so grateful to, and there are a lot of good people, and they believe in the project, and they come to dine and everything, and a lot of them are like regulars that like dined with like Nikita or I over the years at like different places that we've worked, and
those are the best investors.
But like even still, like after all that stuff, I still don't quite know why someone would agree to invest in a restaurant. But
it's like cool. I got the first couple 100,000 and I was like, really? Are you serious? Like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like all of our investors are everybody's in it for the right reasons. There's not one investor that we're kind of like, fuck, this guy's coming in. Like they all come to support. They're all there. They're cheering for us from the sidelines, and I agree with you. It's just like assemble the right group of people. What is New York like with trying to find good help? Is it just like everywhere else?
I don't know. I mean, in Napa, we had a really tough time.
Yeah, man.
But that was also like
still pandemic-ish. Yeah, still wearing masks.
That definitely didn't make things easier. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's another one of those things where if you like have a lot of these relationships in the city where you work and you like have enough goodwill that like people will come find you or people, so yeah, I mean, we've been pretty lucky with like a lot of the team, from the beginning. I mean, the front of house is like rock solid and they're great. And, Nico's been with me since day one. And again, we met through a mutual friend, and we've had some turnover in the kitchen, but it's never like we haven't yet gotten to the point where we're like struggling to. Yeah,
but that's like opening a restaurant. The opening team is like a good percentage of them are not going to be around 3 months later. Whether they can't do it or disillusioned or they just, they're just not ready to work those hours or if things change so fast in the first month of a restaurant that sometimes people just can't keep up with it. You know? Even myself. Yeah. So tell us about the restaurant. How many seats? What do you got going on?
So we're 47 seats. We're in like a basement, more or less, on a little side street in the East Village. The ceilings are incredibly low. Like if you're over 6 feet, they're really low. And what else we have an open kitchen with a little counter people can
that's
sit
pretty
at.
dope. I remember when I just cruised in, I saw the kitchen, I was like, it seems like everything is where you need it to be.
And we have a bar. It used to be a sushi restaurant, so it was their old sushi bars, like
that makes sense.
Our like cocktail bar, and but it is weird because it's like counter height, so you're like sitting at a bar, but you're sitting in a chair, which is nice. How'd
you find the space?
Man, how did we find that one? Actually, you know what? I think I'd seen another space with this guy, this real estate broker, and I think we were pursuing a different space in the neighborhood with someone else, and then just email out of the blue like, "Hey, I got this one. You want to see this one?" And it wasn't a guy I had really stayed in touch with, but I was like, "Yeah, sure." And it
was it one of those things where you walked in, you're like, "Okay, yeah, this is it, man. This is definitely what I want."
I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah.
I think there was like one or two others that we were kind of like considering. I mean, there's so many other factors though too. Like, right? It's like, is it actually going to work out? Like once you like look into the details, like, is there something about it that's like a disaster that's going to like be a deal breaker or whatever? But yeah, and the landlord's really great too. So yeah,
I remember
it's
the
nice.
brokers that I was working with. They're amazing. It's a company called Ohas, and when I linked up with them, they showed me like maybe we saw like 15 spaces in
Wow.
like 3 weeks. They're just constantly showing it. I would walk into some spaces and they'd be like, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? And they'd be like, okay, so if you take this wall down, and like, I'm not that visualized guy of like, okay, this wall needs to go away here. And some of these spaces I'd walk in, I'd be like, I don't see it at all, man. And then when we saw the Iggy space, I was like, yeah,
That's hard because it's a white box. Like
yeah, it's
you
a white
said,
box.
right? So
Well, it wasn't
like,
even that. It was like it was concrete rubble. Like it was musty and like wet and concrete, and
crazy.
it was rocks. The floor wasn't laid. It was all rocks, and I was just like, yeah, this is the spot. Like that was the first time I was like visualizing
That's
it.
crazy.
I could see it.
Yeah.
So you do a la carte. Why didn't you just want to do tasting menu?
Oh man.
Did you think about it?
No,
Yeah.
it's not. I don't know. I feel like it's in New York right now. It's like a huge mistake.
To do tasting menus?
I think so.
Uh-huh.
I don't think people want it.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, but the biggest thing though is I didn't want to cook a tasting menu. It's so repetitive.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure too. Because do you feel like you have to keep constantly changing the menu when it's a tasting menu all the time?
I guess so, but there's also the people that just like do their hits,
Yeah.
which, I mean, it's a balance because like what kind of like customer are you trying to cultivate? Because, you know, if you have like regulars, then yeah, you want to change the menu all the time so they have like a reason to come back.
Right.
But also if you're like courting sort of like the international like diner sort of clientele, it's like you want that menu to be like tight and you want it to have like all the things that they're gonna come for. So I think that's like tricky. You know? But yeah, cooking a tasting menu, prepping a tasting menu is like it's super exhausting and just like the repetitive nature of it. I think expediting a tasting menu and you're just kind of like, okay, like it's 7:00. This is happening just like it does every single night.
It's like the Truman Show
it's like
or something. Yeah.
9 p.m. Cool. Going into the second turn.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
Yeah. And then you see the second turn, same dishes.
Yeah.
Same thing. You're just starting it over again.
And it's just kind of like, kind of boring.
I mean, I really like it when people are like, oh, I'm just going to cruise in. I'm going to sit at the bar, have a glass of wine, and order a dish and then leave. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely, man. This is the type of place for that.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, maybe someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know. You need to think from the guests, like earn a lot of trust in order to be able to like sell them a tasting menu to like, get them to be like, cool. Yeah, I'm willing to eat like whatever you give me. So,
Right.
And spend like however much money to have it is like.
Yeah.
I think you need to like, you know, if you're gonna open your first restaurant, to like show people kind of like what you're about.
It's a very, very educated owner way to look at it, mature way to look at it. Of like, you know, maybe the chef in me wants to just do tasting menu and this and that, but like, what's the best for the guest? You know?
Yeah.
I think we're always kind of like looking at that, like, well, do I want this or does the guest want it? You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
How's it been received in New York? The opening?
Good.
Yeah.
I think, pretty good. You know, we have like, we're starting to have our own regulars, which is super nice. You know, of people that have already come like 4 or 5 times, and we've only been open for about like almost 7 months now. So
Wow.
yeah, that's super nice to see. And, yeah, I mean, the press was nice and people had some nice things to say about us. And, yeah, it's been a good run so far.
Right on.
Yeah.
Where do you like to eat right now in New York? If someone's going to visit and they want to, like, what would you recommend?
So yeah, I mean, I do feel like we're in like a kind of a good moment in that like a lot of people that are sort of my age and like worked at some of the same restaurants that I worked at, and it's sort of like a new generation of not chefs, but a new generation of like restaurant owners, that these people now have their own place and they're doing their thing, which is like super inspiring to see. I really like what Maxime does at Zimmy's, which is a new French bistro in the West Village, which is like there's a million French bistros in the West Village, but like what he does is so different and personal. His parents are from France, and he's cooking like dishes that his like grandmother used to cook.
That's crazy.
It's not really like French restaurant cuisine. It's more like what you would eat in someone's home in France. It's like,
man, that's got to
really
resonate
cool.
in this day and age.
Yeah.
Like that's what people want. Man.
Yeah,
like authenticity.
Yeah, and the food is just so delicious. And then Sam over at Bridges, he was like Ignacio's right hand guy at Estella for a long time, and so he opened his own place, and it's sort of like a continuation of like that style of food. But and it's super creative and thoughtful. Really cool space, and he's doing some really good stuff. And it's nice to see that like something that I talk a lot about with like my friends or whatever is it's like really rare, I think, in New York now to have a restaurant that's like where there's the restaurants like has a cuisine that has a lot of like authorship or like a unique point of view like of the chef to be like this is my food, and it's like creative and like there's like a reason behind it. That's like so rare.
Right. I like it too. It's like in New York you see it a lot too. It's like people are just cooking delicious food. No matter what it is. Like Wild Air is like a great example of that. Like it's super casual, but it's done at a very high level. Super delicious. Guys like you're just pulling from all the places that you worked with, and there might be a little bit of Japanese influence, but it's not Japanese restaurant. It's still kind of done through like a young chef's point of view that has worked at all these different restaurants and is pulling from all these different types of experiences, I think it resonates with the diner a lot too.
I think so. I think you want to see like making delicious food sometimes isn't enough. There needs to be like some like overarching like idea or like something like tying it all together. Like, why are you cooking this thing? It's like we could serve like a delicious roast chicken at Smithereens, but like why? Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Why would you want to do that? I mean, that sounds delicious to me. So what do you think? 7 months. What do you think is in the next 3-year plan for you? Are you thinking about it? Hard question.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know, man. I mean, we'll keep doing this. I think we want to do another project at some point, just to kind of like. I feel like I'm always like pursuing like. I feel like there's so many things with this restaurant where I'm like, oh, okay, like I wish that like I had done this differently, but it's like this is its own thing now, and like, you're not gonna like change that.
It's like the second restaurant's gonna be all the mistakes you made in the first one, but better, and then there's gonna be more mistakes you made in the second one, so there's got to be a third one, and then next thing you know, you have a restaurant empire, and you never signed up for this.
Exactly. But I think like something that Nikita and I keep talking about is like, how can we like we do it with, like I was saying before, like the way the menu is set up is like it's a lot of like our opinions, like what we think is important is like what we focus on in the restaurant with like what we serve and things like that, but now we're sort of looking at it from like an operational point of view. Is like, okay, like what kind of life do we want to live, and like how do we want the restaurant to be structured, and like make it make sense. Like we've been talking a lot about this. It's like, okay, cool. Like what if we opened a restaurant that's just the hours that we want to work? What if it's open Monday through Friday for only lunch? Because that's what we want.
Right.
But it's like the lifestyle that you want. So it's like, okay, so like then you work backwards. You're like, okay, well, what would we need to serve for that to work or something like that? And that's super interesting problem solving. Or if you're like, Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about it in a different, not about the food, but about like the structure and then like
Right.
working backwards.
I
or
think
something.
Nashville's like the king of that. Like we have these
I mean,
restaurants
that's
that are
like-
open.
yeah.
Like this place is open on Friday and Saturday from like 5:30 to 8,
Yeah.
and there's 20 seats. You're like, okay, well, I'm never going to that place, you know. But they do it, and it's amazing.
Well,
And
that was like so inspiring to go to Locust and see like what those
Yeah.
guys are doing, which is like, oh, this is our thing. We're doing it on our own terms, and it works for us.
This is what we
and,
do, and it
like,
works for us.
You know,
and
so,
if it works for you, people are gonna figure out how to get there.
Right.
No one's gonna go and be like, "Oh, they're not open at 5:00. I'm never gonna go there." They're gonna be like, "Okay, well, we'll just go at 6:30." It's
Yeah.
like when we did the menu at Iggy's. I was so nervous. Like, are people really gonna buy into just eating pasta? Like, are we gonna have to 3 months later, like, maybe alter the concept and throw some entrees per se?
Right.
And Matthew's like, it doesn't matter. We're just going to double down on it. And this is what we serve. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was not shocked, but like pleasantly surprised when people were like getting the concept of like, you know, we suggest this, you suggest that. And people were like, okay, well, we're going to get 4 pastas. We're like, yeah, fuck yeah, man. Yes, you are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good to see that, but it resonates with me of being like the balance of, not even balance, like, if this works for my life and this is what I want to do, this is how we'll figure out to do it. And the public is that they'll figure out when to come. You know?
Right. Yeah.
I saw this quote that this guy said, like, stop trying to put your personal life and your professional life in balance, because it's never going to be balanced. They have to be harmonious.
Mm-hmm.
One is always going to be out of whack, but if they're harmoniously flowing together, that's the balance. And it kind of changed my whole perspective of like not having like my personal life always in debt, and then, you know, getting out of debt in my personal life, and then having the professional life be in debt.
Right.
And it kind of just like, well, it's okay if they're both in debt and I'm aware of it and I'm working at, or they're both, everything's like really good right now. Like, let's not screw it up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something to shoot for.
Something to think about on your flight home.
Yeah.
Anything else, man? Anything else you want to plug?
I don't know. I don't know. Just
Smithereens.
come visit us. Yeah.
If we want to find you, where do we find you at?
So yeah, we're on 9th Street between First Avenue and Avenue A in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, smithereensnyc.com or
Yep.
Smithereens NYC Instagram.
Instagram. Follow him on Instagram.
Yeah.
Nick, man, thanks for
We'll be
coming
there.
and hanging out with us. We had such
Yeah.
a good time with you at Iggy's, and it was a lot of fun. And you know, your food is super delicious and speaks for yourself. And I can't wait to get back to New York and have dinner with you.
Yeah, thanks,
I appreciate
man.
your friendship,
Yeah.
man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for everything.
All right.